Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Monday, the 9th of December. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. He's passed the fitness test that only just got a bit of the lurgy there, Chris, but good to have you on.
Do my best to soldier on. It'll take more than a cold to keep me off the morning briefing. It might come in handy for Thursday night as an excuse, right enough, depending how confident I am, depending how confident I'm feeling come Thursday. But I'm hoping to be all fine and good to go for that as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Sorry we're late, folks. A few technical issues. As you can see, if you do watch us on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram, you will have noticed that we're in front of a black screen. We don't have the usual Rangers Review background. Not sure why that is the case. A few gremlins in the system, but the technical team are working on that, so hopefully get it sorted by tomorrow. But yeah, we'll crack on. Bit of admin as well. Got a message over the weekend. It was brought to our attention, of course. You may... if you prefer to listen to the podcasts, you know that we're on a number of podcast providers. Weren't aware that we weren't on Audible and Amazon since we switched provider a good few months ago. So thank you to the chap that informed me of that over the weekend. It has now been sorted. So if you prefer to listen to your podcasts on Amazon or Audible, then it should now be appearing on there. Right, let's talk about another Rangers victory then, Chris. Very enjoyable watch yesterday, I've got to say. I was in a pub in Warrington and I very much enjoyed it whilst tucking into a Sunday roast. And Rangers defeating Ross County by 3-0. Pretty much the same team, just one change from the side that defeated Kilmarnock on the previous Wednesday and saw Connor Barron coming back in for Mohamed Diamande. Hamza Igamane got things underway with a wonderful effort from just outside the area. I've seen, the commentators saying it took a heavy deflection. I've watched it about 55 times, Chris. I'm still trying to see where the deflection is. It looks more like he sort of went over it and it's dipped over, but I understand if it has taken a little nick, it's still a great effort from him. He continues in that rich vein of form that he's currently in. Rangers adding 2 more goals in the second half as well to wrap things up. Well, Danilo, in the first half, he latched onto a mistake from the goalkeeper, Hamilton. Yeah, we do love a goalkeeping mistake up at Dingwall, tapping into an empty net. His dad loved it, going by his footage in the Rangers end, which I certainly enjoyed. And James Tavernier wrapped things up with a great finish, aesthetically pleasing finish as we've seen it just nestle into the back of the net to put the cherry on top of what was a very good Rangers display. Another victory, back-to-back league wins away from home for the first time since, I think, February time, which is quite incredible, really. Rangers now go into that game on Thursday night against Tottenham in Fine Fettle.
They certainly go into it on the back of what was a must-win game. We spoke towards the end of last week about these 3 games coming up, 3 different competitions, 7 days, and what it would really mean for Rangers, what it would mean for the manager. The first hurdle has been cleared. It's a really important one. You're now looking at Thursday. It seems bizarre to say, but arguably not as important. And then Sunday is the most important one of all. So they did what they had to do and got through it relatively comfortably in the end, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Number of talking points to discuss. We'll touch on what Philip Clement had to say afterwards as well, because I know he's come in for a bit of stick from some of his post-match comments. But it really was a performance that he can be certainly pleased about. Hamza Igamane, as we touched on, getting Rangers off and underway. He talked about Danilo as well, the manager, and of course his return from injury and scoring again in his current form. He says, I'm very happy for Danny and for the team, of course, and for myself also. I missed him 11 months and that he was not available, so you also see the difference he can make. We missed that in a lot of games in the past, so it's now raising his levels. He's not at his top yet, cannot be after that period, but he's showing already the good things that he showed before. He's not yet, for me, at the level that he was in the moment that I started to work here, but he's working hard on that, and only time will help him in that way, and more minutes and more training minutes. Also on Igamane, Clement says, I don't like the word talisman because it means he's not playing. If he's not playing, we cannot win games. We don't want to create a team like that because then it becomes easier for opponents. We need this competition, and you see everybody pushing each other in that way. Hamza scored goals now in the last weeks. Danny scored goals. Cyril scored goals. And that's what you need to be a top team, playing every 3 days in 4 competitions. You need this competition and everybody standing up in the moments that they are playing. You see a really good team spirit already from the beginning of the season. We get some knocks because we needed some time to gel everything together. But you see the team grow, and I feel it also from the fans today that they start to understand that. Let's hope the team is now beginning to gel. When he said sort of October, November, when we'd start seeing the best of Rangers, perhaps he meant December, Chris.
Sorry, what's a couple of months and a couple of weeks between friends? Absolutely nothing at all. But I think they're certainly looked better over the last couple of games. That front four, perhaps ironically, that will now need to be broken up for Thursday night, unfortunately. But I think a lot of people will be looking for that quartet to start at Hampden next week. Not convinced it will, but there's plenty of time to talk about that one towards the end of the week. But you look at the Kelly game is obviously so much better than what has been on the agenda for weeks and months previously. Now, how many times have we come on the show and it's been turgid, it's been slow, it's been pedestrian, it's been predictable, all these words and phrases that we've used to describe Rangers. Kelly was just such an improvement on that. Yesterday was better as well. So it could have been more comfortable. I thought they could have perhaps pushed on a wee bit more after getting that early goal. Hagi had a couple of nice moments. The Tierney one was down that right channel, should probably have done a bit better. But in the end, it's a relatively comfortable win. Good to see the Igamane and Danilo getting their goals. Good to see Tav getting back on the score sheet as well. So I think coming back down the road last night, there would be a lot of happy faces on the team bus. Certainly a bit more encouragement, a bit more of a positive vibe. But we know what else is to come this week. We know how difficult Thursday is going to be. We know the significance of Sunday. So talk of corners being turned and all the rest of it, slightly premature for me. I know some people are maybe getting a bit they're maybe reading a bit more into it than me. I'm definitely looking for more from this side. It's still very, very early. If they can go and put in a performance on Thursday, not even get a result because of the huge disparity in terms of the quality. If they go and put in a performance on Thursday and then go and win the cup, I'm happy to come back on Monday morning and say, right, maybe Rangers are somewhere towards that. But that then leads into a run of domestic games heading into the next Old Firm game that they have to win as well. So it's been better, but as I think you still have to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, these should be no disrespect to Ross County, but you should be expected to pitch up at Dingwall and beat Ross County without much fuss. So I'm not getting carried away. World's Greatest DJ says the big question is, have we turned a corner? I think we'll have an answer to that on the show this time next week, where we can decide where Philip Clement is with regards to his Rangers career in rebuild and where Rangers are in terms of the season. If they can get 2 victories, I don't think that's beyond them, I've got to admit, then things look a tad more rosier for the season ahead. The bigger game is Sunday, there's no doubt about that. But as Thursday draws ever nearer, you can bet your bottom dollar that the excitement levels will be at fever pitch levels, and you can just imagine what Ibrox is going to be like on Thursday night. Cannot wait for that game. Lots of points coming in off the back of yesterday. Lots on Tavernier as well. Chris Dykes with a point says, as much stick Tav has been getting, it looks like he could be back to his old self in the last couple of games. Headkeeper with a point says Tav played well, great goal, but a worry against Son on Thursday. And Super Ali does it again, says Derek. Tav has had an upturn in the last 3 games. For me, he can keep his place Thursday, but he can't start next Sunday as Maida is in his head. Let's talk James Tavernier then. I thought I've discussed him after the Kilmarnock game. I think a game against St Johnstone as well, where he was instrumental in that winning goal. I think that sort of break out the team has done him the world of good, Chris. And the movement up top has perhaps helped him as well. It looks a lot more free now. He looks like he's enjoying his football a lot more. He looks fitter, and that is a good sign going into these matches. Now, on Thursday, do I expect him to play? I would play him on Thursday. I'm not sure. Do I play him on Sunday? I'm caught in 2 minds on that one, just based on performances in the past against Celtic, and I know that they will target Rangers' right-hand side. But he is in decent form at this moment. Where do you sit on Tavernier?
I think when we discussed Tav last week in terms of testimonial and his Rangers career, his Rangers legacy, and I think we agreed that he is a really hard man to actually sum up. It's a really hard situation to actually take a definitive on, because there's so many aspects to it. There's so many positive and negatives. The team on Thursday will be really interesting, but the team on Sunday will be even more so. I think if Tavernier starts against Celtic, you know what the reaction from the Rangers fans is going to be, because they've seen that particular movie often enough. They know the difficulties that he has had against Celtic. They know that there's some scar tissue there. But as you point to, the last couple of games, he has been more Tav-like. Now, not back to his usual, not back to old self, not back to 55 season or Seville season, that type of thing, not back at those levels, but definitely a bit more like we assume James Tavernier will be. I think the rest has done him good. And no matter how many times he says he's good to go for 3 games a week, it's not the right thing for him. You would expect him to say, I want to play every game, I want to play every minute, and credit to him for still wanting to do that. He's not just happy to pick up a wage and become a bit part player. He clearly wants to be as influential and to play as many minutes as possible. And fair play to him, good. But it's not the right thing for him. It's not the right thing for the team. There has to be this rotation. There has to be this playing certain players in certain games. Occasions like yesterday or Kelly or St Johnstone, they feel more like James Tavernier games right now. Just as important. Still have to win them. Still need to perform in them. But they feel more like Tav occasions now, rather than your big European games or your Celtic games. So I think there will be this groundswell of opinion that Sterling should start on Sunday. Thursday's then interesting. Call, do you risk Sterling, knowing how brittle he can be at times, unfortunately? Can you rely on him to get through a Sunday? I think there's a couple of players that fall into that particular category, and it would really interest to see how strong the manager decides to go on Thursday, because it's going to be a big ask to get through Spurs at Ibrox and then Celtic at Hampden. If you commit to getting through both of them, as I say, it is a big ask. I think there's enough players on the squad that should be able to do it. So I think Tav will probably start Thursday and Sterling starts on Sunday.
Interesting. And of course, no Hagi and Danilo in that European squad, which is, I guess, looking at one way, unfortunate, but it keeps them fresh for Sunday. I'd be starting a pair of them against Celtic next week. So that's where I stand on the pair of them. Let's hear what the manager had to say then after the game and looking ahead to the match against Tottenham on Thursday.
Against a team that's out of our league, normally, financially for sure. So it's a kind of game, you only have things to win. It's a little bit different situation than the normal games we have. But we're gonna fight. It's really interesting in that way to see also with this squad what they can do at that level. It's gonna be a first test against a team of that magnitude and that quality of players. So I'm really looking forward to that. And you see physically, technically, the team is growing also in all the automatism. Now we're gonna see that against one of the best teams in the world.
He's come in for a bit of stick, the manager, not necessarily from that press conference, although I would, I know his point about Spurs being one of the best teams in the world. I get what he's getting at, but they simply are not at this moment in time where I certainly enjoyed watching their game against Chelsea last night. A typical Ange performance, if you like, wide open. And they were punished by Chelsea, who were excellent at that game at the Spurs Stadium. Let's hope Rangers can inflict more misery on them on Thursday. But in his interview with Sky, he said about the Spurs being out of Rangers League, and he also looked ahead to the game on Sunday. This is what he said, folks. He says, of course, they are totally different kinds of games. Maybe we need to say financially out of our league, the two games, but we are going to compete. It's a really nice challenge for our squad to show themselves in these games and what we can do against those teams. So the thing that's stuck in many Rangers fans' throats, Chris, is sort of putting Celtic in that bracket as well. And many saying it's not what a Rangers manager should be saying heading into that fixture. Would you go along with that? Do you think that's a fair comment from those that find issue with it?
Even if that's what you believe, don't say it. Just no. The week of an Old Firm Cup final, just don't say it. It's not an excuse for Old Firm matches. I can see what he's getting at in terms of Spurs, because we know the financial gulf between Premier League and Premiership. We know the level of finance that Ange Postecoglou has to spend on his squad compared to Philippe Clement and what he's got to spend on his squad. Not convinced he's putting pressure on Spurs. I don't really see Ange buying into Clement mind games. I don't think that will come into it. I think Postecoglou's got enough on his plate at present without worrying too much about what Clement says and what Rangers are going to do. In terms of Celtic, yes, there is a gap there now in terms of their wage bill and what the Rangers wage bill has been reduced to. That's kind of Clement's fault in a way, because he didn't win the league, didn't therefore get Champions League football, had a chance to qualify for the Champions League this season, didn't do it. That also has a huge impact on the budget. So you can't get away with saying Celtic have more money than us. I think Mark Warburton tried it back in the day. It didn't go down very well. Other Rangers managers since haven't used that excuse. I haven't used that kind of that stance. Thankfully, it's just something that you don't say. I think there's been a couple of times the last few weeks there's been an odd bit slipping into a few of his interviews and his press conferences, and you just think just don't say it. I think if you do, it perhaps hints at you don't quite understand the world that you're living in. It's just not. It's not an excuse. It's not something that you can put forward the week of an Old Firm Cup final. So better Rangers sides than this one have lost to Celtic and have beaten Celtic. Worse Rangers sides than this have lost to Celtic and beaten Celtic. It's a cup final. It's 90 minutes. All the usual cliches of form goes out the window and all the rest of it. They all come into the picture. They all help Rangers a wee bit. But you're not going to get away with, if it goes against Rangers on Sunday, you're not going to get away with coming out and saying, well, Celtic spent a lot more money than us, their wage bill's bigger. Fans don't care. Fans don't want to hear it. They just want to see a Rangers team that's going to compete and is going to beat Celtic.
Yeah, some of the points coming in supporting Clement. Chris says it might not be what we want to hear, but is he lying? Alex Kelly with the point. Spurs have spent over £400 million in their squad. Celtic spent 27.5 on 3 players. Clement has spent 14.1 on 12 players. Perspective. He's stating facts, he says, and a few others saying that as well. When I first heard it, I get what he was saying. It's facts. However, again, like you, Chris, it's one of those ones where you don't like to hear it. And I can understand why fans would get a bit uptight about it. You don't want to hear it. I mean, Don Cowie doesn't come out and say that about the financial state of play going up against it, a team like Rangers. So, it's an issue that we all are well aware of the gulf at this moment in time, but it's one of those I think you just keep in-house just to avoid any unnecessary noise with regards to it. It may be outstanding mind games. If he wins the 2 matches, then it can come out and joke about it and say it was mind games or whatever. But it's facts at the end of the day. So yeah, I don't think it was the best of things to blurt out on national television. But I don't want it's not going to overshadow Rangers' form, I don't think, at this moment in time. But there was a comment that came in that caught my eye on this comparison with a previous Rangers manager. JG says that Gerrard came in and wanted to have a go at them and take it to them. Clement wants to build his excuses ahead of the game. Losers mentality. Do you think it is a loser's mentality, Chris?
Time will tell. Whether he interesting to see how he handles the rest of the week. Obviously, we'll speak on Wednesday afternoon ahead of the Spurs game, and then speak after that match. There's been a really late press conference on Friday. I think it's 4:30 on Friday ahead of the cup final. I think the Steven Gerrard comparison for me comes back into it, because you look at the run that Rangers were on before Gerrard arrived. So yes, he had a squad that didn't have the quality compared to Celtic, but they also had a squad that had far too much scar tissue against Celtic. He had to overcome that mental barrier. He built a new squad, much like Clement has done this season, and he got that Old Firm win. Also, it didn't quite happen in the first one. You win the game at Ibrox with Ryan Jack, and after that, Rangers really flipped the dynamic in the Old Firm games. Now under Beale and under Clement, it's gone so far the other way, and that's why, yes, it'd be great and it's much needed. It's what all Rangers fans want, to lift a bit of silverware on Sunday. But in the bigger picture as well, Clement has to find a way to beat Celtic. He has to show that he can beat Celtic. I said Gerrard came in 2018 with a squad that had a lot of work done on it and beat them second time around and really change that dynamic in the Old Firm fixture. Clement now has to get a result to do the same. And I say, no matter the level of finance, no matter the quality of both sides, if you lose another Old Firm game against Celtic, a lot of perspective goes out the window, and he'll find himself under a lot more pressure. I think the last couple of games have eased that. Certainly the great win in Nice was a big moment for him. Kelly was a big moment for him. County was a good afternoon for him. But these next 2 games, performance and a result on Thursday, and a performance and result on Sunday, and it can do so much to kind of shift the narrative around Clement. If one or both go badly, I think it only gives his critics a bit more ammunition.
Yeah. Incidentally, folks, those of you that are Rangers Review Extra members on YouTube, I will be speaking to Spurs blogger Rob White, who is the son of the late great Spurs legend John White, at 11 a.m. this morning, which should be interesting. We'll get an insight into Tottenham. Of course, they're a bit all over the shop at this moment in time. A lot of fans want Ange out. I very much hope that Daniel Levy doesn't make a call on that before Thursday. I'm hoping that Ange can bring his Tottenham team up here and Rangers can do the business over them. We're at Monday. We'll look ahead in greater detail to that game as the days wear on, Chris. But at this moment in time, Tottenham not in a good place for the time being. They were shocking against Bournemouth last Thursday. Shot themselves in the foot against Chelsea yesterday. Chelsea are a top team. Are Rangers capable of getting a result on Thursday, do you think?
I think they're capable, because you look at how well they raise their game for these European occasions. We know what a Europa League night at Ibrox looks and sounds and feels like, and what that can do for a squad, what it can do for players. I think there's definitely a chance. It's not a game that Rangers should fear. It's one that they should relish. You look at how Spurs have been performing this season. Clearly very up and down. As you say, they lost to Bournemouth a couple of weeks ago. They've also beaten Man City away. They are exciting to watch at times, but they're definitely susceptible. They're definitely there to be got at. A lot depends on the side that Postecoglou puts out. Does he think, well, I'm going back to Glasgow and I want to lay down a marker, I want to give Rangers a bit of a sore one, I'm going to play more like his full strength squad? Or does he think, it's only the Europa League, it's only Rangers, and perhaps underestimates it a wee bit and puts out
He needs a result.
Puts out a weekend side, but that's it. He cannot afford to put out a weekend side and Rangers to go and turn Spurs over, because that puts so much pressure on him. And we speak about Clement needing a result, needing a performance, and certainly needs one as well. So I don't think he will. I don't think he'll underestimate it. I don't think he'll try and be too clever. I don't think he'll put out such a weekend side where you look at the team line and think, no, that's definitely a Spurs side that's there for the taking. Even a Spurs reserve side, they're never going to be there for the taking. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be that easy.
No quality,
but
yeah.
There's definitely a feeling, I think, amongst the fans off the back of the last couple of weeks, that if everything goes right, if Rangers can approach it in the right manner, give the crowd something to get behind, get Ibrox on your side. I say we know what that can look and sound and feel like on these nights. So there's definitely a reason to look forward to it. And ultimately, if you're not looking forward to it, you're in the wrong place. You're at the wrong football club. Now, this is the type of occasion that you should be looking forward to. Now, you've got a league game that's must win, a bit of pressure on it, and you go and deliver on Sunday. You're then looking ahead to a Thursday, Sunday against the Premier League side and Old Firm Cup final. What's not to like? Yes, the fans have been a bit down obviously at times this season. Yes, there's questions over the manager. Yes, there's questions over a number of the players. There's questions for the board, all that. But if you can't go into this week looking forward to it, thinking I can't wait for Thursday to come around, what an occasion it's going to be, and then bounce yourself into Sunday regardless of what happens, so you're at the wrong club. So hopefully the manager mentioned mentality a couple of times. He spoke about that press conference on Friday, and not saying if you don't want to play against Ross County, you don't want to play against the likes of Dumbarton in the Scottish Cup, you won't be in my side. I think they passed that test on Sunday. They showed that they did have the right mentality. They went about it in the right manner, got a good win. Now it's on to two challenges that are very different, but two challenges that you have to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Rangers just need to be clinical. If any opportunities come their way on Thursday, they can't afford to pass them up. I think first goal is crucial in it as well. If Rangers can get that, then I can see them going on and achieving a positive result. In terms of the Europa League, Tottenham's run, they've not been scintillating, it's fair to say. 2-2 draw with Roma last time out. They lost to Galatasaray away from home. They won 1-0 at home to AZ Alkmaar. They beat Ferencvaros away by 2-1, and they beat Karabag 3-0 at home. Rangers, as we know, are in a good position, 8th at this moment in time in that expanded league table, and they've certainly started off really well, and it's an opportunity, I think, on Thursday to really have a go at Tottenham. I want them to go out there and not leave anything out on the pitch. Go and give as good as you've got and see where it takes you. So, very much looking forward to it. We'll just wrap up with this, Chris. I touched on it a little wee while ago. Gillian with a point says, do you both think Hagi will play on Sunday at Hampden? No Danilo and Hagi on Thursday. I'm wanting Igamane starting on Thursday, incidentally, as well. I think that should be a given. But Hagi on Sunday, are you on board with that?
Ask me again on Friday once for a bit of time. I think that's one of the big calls that Clement has to make. On form, yes. On, is it the best way to go and contain Celtic, compete with Celtic, beat Celtic? Potentially not. Would you see Diomande perhaps coming back in to give Rangers a bit more legs in that area? Obviously, Bayrami will be itching to start as well. But I think you look at form, you look at guys who can win these games, and we always speak about game changers and match winners. Hagi falls into that category. He's been really good since he's come back into the team. And I think people will be disappointed if he doesn't. It's whether Clement feels that's the best way to actually go about it. You also, I think, there's a mentality with Hagi that I think is really important and really likeable as well. He's been in these situations. He's won big games against Celtic, and I spoke earlier on about the Gerrard factor and players having that having that mentality to go and compete with Celtic and beat Celtic. Hagi's one of the few in the squad that has actually done that. So I think it's a really big call, and a lot will depend on how Clement sees that, how he sees Rangers lining up, middle to front. I'd like to see Danilo start, like to see Igamane start, Germany will start, Barron and Raskin probably start. So you're then looking at Hagi, Bayrami, or Diomande as one of the as other one in the middle of the pitch, and whatever one Clement goes for, I think it'll be quite indicative in terms of how he sees the game unfolding and what his plan for it is. The rest of the team, I think, as we touched on, Butland obviously plays. I think Sterling goes right back. If you can, it's Suter and Balogun and Jefty, and that's the say. There's not that many big calls for Clement to make. I think the Hagi one is arguably his biggest one.
Yes, as I said, I'd be playing them on Sunday, but yeah, we will find out. I think keep them fresh. Danilo and Hagi, they'll be raring to go against Celtic. Right, that'll do us there. Big thank you to Chris for soldiering on and getting through the show this morning. It's much appreciated. Thank you to you all for tuning in as ever. As I mentioned earlier on, if you are a Rangers Review Extra member, then we've got that Spurs show coming your way at 11 a.m. this morning. If you haven't joined the Extra channel, it's very easy to do. There should be a join button on the Rangers Review homepage on YouTube. You have to be on a desktop version, folks. Click the join button, £2.99. You get access to exclusive content, extra videos, all that sort of stuff. So well worth £2.99 a month. Right, big thank you to you all as ever, and we'll speak to you later on. Bye for now.